and welcome back to my channel. My name is Leela and I love to read queer, trans, and feminist literature. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope that you are feeling the love in your life, and if you're feeling down today, which I totally understand, please know that I love you and I'm grateful that you are here. I've got a Valentine's Day TBR that I am really excited about and some cute plans. Well, I do definitely celebrate Valentine's Day with my beautiful girlfriend Alessandra, who is a florist and whose birthday is also Valentine's Day. I also love the self-love side of this holiday, and that is what we are going to be focusing on in today's video. First on the TBR, we have the Rainbow Magic Special Edition Juliet the Valentine Fairy. Last year I read Trixie the Halloween Fairy and Holly the Christmas Fairy, and honestly I did not really like either of them. I felt that they were reinforcing the structures of like white supremacy, colonialism, and heteronormativity, but I wanted to give this series one more try because it is just so cozy, childhood nostalgic for me. And this weekend I read Will Prescribe You a Cat, which I found to be very cozy and comforting, and as soon as I was done I was like, I want to read Juliet the Valentine Fairy. So I figured that it is time for me to pick it up. I'm actually planning to go to a cute cafe and order a latte and hopefully read this book in one sitting. I've been watching a lot of Taylor Tippett on my friend and Galentine Alana's recommendation, and she did a cute video where she read actually one of my favorite books, Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen, in one sitting at a cafe, and that inspired me to do that with this one. And I was thinking if I do accomplish that goal, then I could go do a little book shopping at Bookstore Magic. So that is my really fun plan for this afternoon. And then next on the TBR we have Beyond the Glittering World, an anthology of Indigenous feminisms and futurisms. I find this entire concept, title, premise, cover design extremely compelling. I'm very intrigued by the meaning of this title, Beyond the Glittering World, and I wonder how that might actually relate to the glittering world of the rainbow fairies, which I was just describing does seem to kind of reinforce the structures of colonialism and in some ways heteropatriarchy. This is on my anti-brain rot reading list for 2026, and I really wanted to read it around Valentine's Day because where I grew up in Montreal, which is the Mohawk territory of Jojage, there is an annual march for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit people. So I really associate that with February the 14th, and I loved the idea of, in honor of justice for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit people, turning to beautiful visions of Indigenous feminisms and futurisms. I am really excited to encounter a lot of these authors for the first time. I recognize Ariel Twist. I once saw Ariel Twist speak very powerfully on a panel at McGill, and I read their book of poetry, Disintegrate, Dissociate, and really loved it. And then all these other contributors are new to me, so I'm really excited about this. And then the third book that I'm planning to read in this TBR is the book of poetry Hoodwitch by Felita Hicks. My girlfriend picked this up from Under the Umbrella bookstore in Salt Lake City when we were there, and she's a poet, so I trust her taste in poetry. In her author bio it says Felita Hicks, she, her, they, is a Black queer writer, creator, and activist, so I'm there. I'm also currently reading the ebook of All About Love by Bell Hooks, which I plan to continue. So that is the TBR, and let's go on a cute little coffee shop date. After finishing my book, I went across the street to Books Are Magic. I loved this Black History Month display. I have my lesbian novel by Renee Gladman and Zammy by Audre Lorde on my TBR. I've read The Devil She Knows. It reminded me a lot of Anya from Buffy, which I love. I am obsessed with the design of Thirst Trap. I think I want to buy it for my birthday. There's my girl Emily Austen being a staff pig as she should, along with Sunburn, who broke my heart, next to The Wax Child, which I saw Florence Welch recommended. And I found what I was looking for. Hello, we are back. I did it. I read the entire Juliet the Valentine Fairy Rainbow Magic Special Edition, 3 books in one sitting, and it was a really fun and lovely experience. I found myself really enjoying this book. I feel like maybe it was written by a different one of the women who writes under the name Daisy Meadows, or maybe I was just in a different mindset than when I recently read and disliked the other books in this series. I just really enjoyed the magical sparkly elements, and I loved that this book valued like family love, sweetheart love as they called it, or romantic love, and friendship love. I just thought that was really sweet and lovely, and I found myself reading the villain Jack Frost and his goblins as the president and his fascist police, and that worked. And also the friendship between Rachel and Kirsty is rather lesbo-erotic in my humble opinion. And I did also stop by Books Are Magic. Shall we do a little haul? I got Girlfriends by Emily Zhu. I have been interested in reading this since it came out in 2023 from Little Puss Press, which is Casey Plett's publishing press. It says 7 light-filled prisms of short stories chronicling Gen Z, queer, and trans culture, attending to the intimacy of women's lives. I am really excited to read this book, and it is on my anti-brain rot reading list, and I am really excited to read Beyond the Glittering World next. It is a few days later, and I have finished my Valentine's TBR, so I'm here with my final thoughts. I loved Beyond the Glittering World. One thing that kind of threw me off though was some like anti-witchcraft vibes in the titular story Beyond the Glittering World, and I was just kind of like, what? Because to me, in my personal worldview, witches are team Indigenous liberation, are anti-police, but then in the story there was like a witch character who's then like in a relationship with a colonizer character, which to me seemed exploitative, but then the witch character was like blamed as a villain as well, and I was very perplexed by that. Apparently that is a reference to Storyteller by Leslie Marmon Silko, in which apparently there is like a witch cop. So that was very interesting and kind of challenging to my own worldview. My 2 favorite stories in here were the 2 that had lesbian vibes. So that was The Stolen Drawing by Conley Lyons, and I'm excited about this. Conley Lyons also has a story in Never Whistle at Night, which I'm planning to read very soon, and I'm very excited about. And The Oklahoma Ocean by Chelsea T. Hicks, and she has a book called A Calm and Normal Heart, which I have added to my TBR, and I am very interested to read. I also added It Was Never Going to Be Okay by Jay Simpson to my TBR after reading their poem in here. This is my familiar Selene. So after encountering that anti-witch sentiment, I was really ready to read something witchy, and was therefore very excited to pick up Hood Witch. And I was very interested in how this book of poems explored motherhood and miscarriage and the body, particularly the Black body. There were some really fun and compelling graphic elements, like this binary code on page 6, and there was some imagery in here that I really loved, like a broken heart in the shape of a Black girl, a riot of fists. I loved that. I loved the pink light and blood moons, and I put a spell in this. I was also really interested that, per the notes at the end, these poems contain references to Haitian voodoo. I'm interested in learning more about that and the connections and differences between that and European witchcraft. I also thought it was really interesting that the poem She of Missing Things is styled styled after Sylvia Plath's Ariel collection. I also noticed a poem called Lazarus and wondered about that potential connection. In the acknowledgements, Felita Hicks writes that this cover illustration is a reflection to her of the dangerous and disturbing side of herself. I really love that. That is all for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye.